So up this week on what kind of crazy thing is Clay been working on? I've been working on a digital tap list. So for my beers, I can show what's on tap, but the cooler thing is that I can show what the keg levels are. And so this is kind of nice because now I can see, essentially when I'm going to run out of beer. No one likes to go up and pull the tap and all of a sudden they get foam because the keg kicked. So now I can know exactly what level each keg is at. And I did that basically by integrating some flow meters with an Arduino and a Raspberry Pi. So this guy is the Raspberry Pi. He's essentially the guy that serves up the web page, but he also does all the processing of information. So he gets a bunch of information from Arduino, which is here. And this guy gets basically information from the temperature sensor and then also the flow meters that are inside the kegerator. And then he processes that and sends it to the Raspberry Pi, which then sends it, of course, to the web page to show how much beer has been drank. Now the Arduino is hooked up to an Ethernet cord that's piped in through the kegerator. So this Ethernet cord coming in goes into this box. And essentially what happens here is all the information from the individual flow meters and the temperature sensor are passed in, and then they're combined so that they can go into the Ethernet cord and to the Arduino from one cable. Now actually this was the first time I've done any major soldering. I was actually pretty happy because, first of all, it doesn't look too bad, and secondly, I didn't screw anything up. It works, so that's awesome. So essentially what happens is beer comes out of the keg and it passes through this flow meter. This flow meter has a propeller in it, essentially, that has a magnet on the end. And it kind of basically goes and pulses every time the propeller spins. With that, it sends a pulse to this box, which then, of course, sends it to the Arduino. And from that, you can essentially calculate how much the flow is and how much has been poured. So the beer comes out, goes through the flow meter, and then, of course, comes out the top of. Now, when I get a beer, it goes through the flow meter. It gets a little agitated as it goes through, but honestly, the foam's not too bad. It's not much more than normal. That looks like pretty good beer to me. So now the beer has come out, it's gone through the flow meter, it's been processed. Now if I go to this page and I refresh, now it'll show that 5.83 ounces have been poured. So that was the pour I just had, which is pretty cool. So now essentially I can know how much is coming out of the keg, and what's more important is now I can see how much is left in the keg. Nobody likes being the guy that goes up to the tap and you pull it and then there's nothing left. You don't want to be the tap killer. Now the thing that I like is with all this information, you can get some crazy stats. So of course, we have how much is left in each keg. And then you'll see there that there's a temperature. I have a temperature probe sitting in the top of the tower. And essentially I want that to know what the difference is from the tower to the actual freezer. I want that to be within about 5 degrees. I think the freezer's set at about 38. So right now, if I'm at 42, I'm doing pretty good. If you get much more than that, you start getting more foam than you should. But past that, I can actually start drilling into the kegs themselves, and I can see, from here, 42 pints poured, 58 pints remaining. If we had drinker accounts, we could see, who was drinking, how many people were drinking out of it, how many sessions there were. But the thing I like is the charts. So I can come in and actually see, what day of the week is the heaviest drinking period. From the temperature, I can see, obviously I opened up the kegerator there and I was working on it because the temperature spiked. So, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can start drawing from the stats. So like here would be overall system stats. So basically the lifetime of the kegerator. So here would be, average pour 24.6 ounces overall. You could see how many drinkers there were if they're drinker accounts. You could see basically how many total drinks there were, how many pours happened, how many pints were delivered from the kegerator. You could see how many sessions there were. So this is just really cool stuff. maybe it's not something I should be recording. Maybe I don't want to know how much beer has been drank. But I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome. So, I mean, overall, I'm pretty excited. I mean, now I can see essentially how much is left in each keg. I can have a digital tap list that eventually I'll put, you know, a TV up here somewhere, and I can just show it all the time. So that guests that come over can know what's in each tap. And then, you know, get some descriptions about the beer that's in each one. But, I mean, the coolest thing for me is just being able to pour some beer and, you know, get some stats on it and know how much is left before I run out.